the chains that sang her pain. The dungeon was cold. Stone walls leaked with dampness. The floor was dirty. Chains hung from the ceiling like metal vines. And in the middle of it all was Lyria. She had been there for 15 years. Her arms were stretched up, held by iron cuffs. Her feet barely touched the ground. Every week, 5 days out of 7, the guards came. They whipped her back until it bled. They laughed while she screamed. No one ever stopped them. No one ever cared. All because of her mother. A warrior who once dared to strike the cruel alien Baron Threx. Her mother died for that mistake. But the Baron didn't forget. He took Lyria, just a child then, and made her pay. She grew up in pain. Grew up hearing her own voice cry out. Grew up with chains that creaked every time she breathed. She sang songs in her head to stay sane. Soft. Songs full of hope. But hope faded long ago, until the day he came. Jack River was not from this planet. He was human. Strong arms, rough beard, eyes that had seen too many battles. He came to Threx's fortress, not for trouble, just for business, or that's what he told them. But he heard something strange while waiting in the outer halls. A scream. It was faint, muffled, like it came from the belly of the earth. No one else flinched. The alien guards stood still. The merchants went on, talking. But Jack's ears locked onto the sound. Later, while leaving, he looked back at the stone walls. That wasn't a beast, he whispered. That was a girl. The next day he returned. He brought gifts, wines, trade offers. He made himself useful, friendly. The Baron liked humans who obeyed. Jack smiled, played along, and asked for a full tour. His request was granted. He was shown the halls, the gardens, the training pits. But he also saw a locked iron door in a shadowed corner. He pointed. "What's in there?" The guard said. "Nothing for humans." But Jack saw blood on the hinges. He nodded, pretended not to care, and moved on. 3 nights later, Jack returned again. This time, he brought food, a gift for the house slaves, he said. The guards laughed, letting him through. He walked past them and dropped a bag of dried fruits near the kitchen. But then, he took a turn that led him to the iron door. It was locked, heavy, but Jack pressed his ear to it, and what he heard chilled him. A voice, singing, weak, barely more than a whisper. The song wasn't in any known language, but the pain in it needed no translation. Inside, Lyria didn't know anyone was listening. She sang the song her mother used to hum. Her back was bleeding again, her wrists were sore, but she still sang. It was all she had left. When she stopped, she heard something strange, a tap, like knuckles on metal. Once, twice. Then silence. The next day, a tray of food arrived at her feet. Real food, soft bread, sweet fruits, clean water. Lyria stared. Her hands shook. It had been years since she tasted sweetness. She looked up at the camera in the corner and whispered, "Is this for me?" No answer came, but in the bread, hidden carefully, she found something, a tiny tool, a cutter, small as a finger, meant for locks. Her heart raced. That night she didn't sleep. She looked at the chains. She thought of her mother. She thought of the man with soft eyes, the human who had looked at her like she mattered. And for the first time in years, Lyria cried, not from pain, but from something else. Hope. She didn't use the tool yet. Not tonight. The Baron still watched. The guards still came. But she held it close, hidden under her ragged dress. Her hands curled around it like it was a jewel. And far above, in the guest quarters, Jack River sat in the dark. He stared at the map of the fortress. He marked every camera, every door, every guard shift. He whispered, "Just a few more days, girl. I'll come back for you. I promise." Jack River had seen many things in his life. War, betrayal, greed, but he had never seen a soul completely forgotten, Until now. The girl in chains haunted his mind. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat on his small rented ship, staring at the empty space beyond the port glass. He didn't even know her name, but her eyes, those tired, broken eyes, followed him into his dreams. Next morning, he made a decision. He wasn't leaving. Jack returned to the alien baron's fortress with another excuse. He brought rare trade items this time, small human, tech, shiny gadgets, fake smiles. The guards welcomed him like a friend. The baron, drunk on power, laughed loudly and drank from gold cups. "You humans," the baron said, "know how to make yourselves useful." Jack bowed slightly. "We only aim to please." But he was counting doors, watching shadows, listening carefully. In the lower levels, Lyria sat in her chains again. Her body hurt. Her wrists were swollen. But inside her dress, hidden carefully, was the small lock tool Jack had given her in the bread. She hadn't used it yet. Why? Because if she failed, they would take it and kill her, and because maybe the human would come back. Something about his eyes had been different. The other. Traders stared at her like trash, or worse, but he had looked at her like she was real, like she was worth saving. And then he returned. The guard opened the dungeon door without knocking. "Get up. You're getting clean today." Lyria blinked. "Why?" "No questions. Baron wants you not to stink when guests walk by." Two guards pulled her down from the chains. Her legs wobbled. Her back ached. They dragged her to a cold washroom and dumped water on her. No kindness. No comfort. But as they walked her back, something changed. She saw him. Jack River. He was talking to a servant in the hallway, pretending to ask about wine. But his eyes locked on hers, just for a second. And in that second, Lyria saw it. The promise. Later, that night, Jack snuck into the servant quarters. He found a quiet worker, a small alien girl with a bent horn. "I need you to pass a message," Jack said gently. The girl looked scared. "If they catch me, they won't, and I'll pay you in real Terran silver. Just 4 words. Get ready to run." "Can you do that?" The girl nodded slowly. In the dungeon, Lyria sat on the floor, arms sore, and eyes half closed. The chains were off for now, but she knew they'd be back by morning. Then she heard a whisper. It came from the door crack, a soft, high voice. "Get ready to run." Lyria's heart almost stopped. She crawled to the door, but the voice was gone. He meant it. He was coming. She took out the lock tool. Her hands trembled. She studied the chains. Practiced using the cutter behind her back, just in case. She couldn't fail. Meanwhile, Jack sat with the Baron again. They drank together. They laughed. Jack told stories about wild alien markets and human weapons. Then carefully, Jack asked, "You ever sell off old property, Baron?" The alien's yellow eyes narrowed. "Why?" Jack shrugged. "I saw something. A girl. Looked like waste. I could take her off your hands, put her in a circus or something. Make a few credits." The Baron snorted. "That filth? 15 years I've hung her. She's not worth a broken chain." Jack smiled casual. "So sell her to me. 1 credit. No one will know." The Baron paused, drank. Then he laughed. "You want her? Take her. But if she bites, don't blame me." Jack hid his grin behind his cup. Step 1. Done. He now had permission. But that didn't mean the girl would be released kindly. He knew how this place worked. She was going to need help escaping. Later that night, Jack wore a hood and moved through the halls like a shadow. He carried a bag, tools, rope, food, and a spare cloak. When he reached the dungeon door, he knocked twice, then 3 times. Inside, Lyria heard the pattern. Her fingers tightened on the lock tool. Click. 1 cuff opened. Click. The second one. Her arms fell forward, too weak to lift. The door creaked open and he was there, the human. In the dark, he dropped to her side. Can you walk? She nodded even though her legs were shaking. He pulled out the cloak and wrapped it around her. No more chains, he whispered. No more pain. But then, a sound. Footsteps. Voices. Guards were coming. Jack grabbed her hand. Run! And they ran, through narrow halls, up stone stairs, past old walls that had watched her cry for years. Now they watched her fight for freedom. They reached a metal gate, but it was locked. Jack cursed. The guards were close. Very close. Lyria reached into the cloak and pulled out the cutter. Click, click, click. The gate opened. They slipped through and vanished into the dark. Lyria could barely breathe. The cold air hit her face as they ran through the jungle outside the Baron's fortress. Her feet were bare. Her body was weak. But for the first time in 15 years, she was not in chains. Jack River held her hand tightly. His grip was firm, warm. He didn't let go, not even when branches cut his face, not even when blaster shots fired behind them. The Baron's guards were chasing them, but Lyria didn't stop. Not now. Not after tasting freedom. They hid inside, a hollow cave by the river. Jack pulled a metal sheet from his pack and placed it over the entrance. It was thin but coated to block heat signatures. Lyria dropped to her knees, gasping. Her back throbbed. Her legs were shaking. Jack knelt beside her. You're safe for now. Just breathe. She looked up at him. Her lips moved slowly. Why, did you help me? Jack didn't answer at first. He opened his bag and pulled out a small water flask. He held it to her lips. Because no one else did, he finally said. And because I saw what they did to you, I couldn't ignore it. She drank slowly. The water was clean, cool, and unlike anything she had tasted in years. Her hands shook so much she couldn't hold the flask herself. Jack gently wiped blood from her arms with a cloth. He saw the scars. So many scars. Some old, some fresh, some burned deep into her skin. He clenched his jaw. They did this to you for 15 years? She nodded. 5 days a week, every week. His fists tightened. Animals. She looked down. I thought I was forgotten. Jack shook his head. Not anymore. For hours, they stayed hidden. Jack gave her protein strips. He helped. Her change into spare clothes, simple pants and a cloak. She still winced every time she moved. She whispered, My name is Lyria. Jack smiled. Nice to meet you, Lyria. I'm Jack River. She studied his face for a moment. Why do you look so angry? Even when you smile. Jack looked away. Because people like the Baron remind me of my past. She tilted her head. You were in chains too? No, he said. But I've seen many who were. Some didn't survive. I promised I'd never walk away again. Suddenly, Lyria leaned against the wall, holding her stomach. Jack noticed the color drain from her face. What's wrong? Too much food. Too fast, she whispered. My body isn't used to it. Jack helped her lie down on the floor. He reached into his bag and took out a small metal case. I have Medjol, he said softly. It'll help your body adjust, but I need to scan first. Lyria nodded. Jack opened a small scanner. He waved it over her arm, chest, and back. The screen blinked, then froze. Jack's eyes widened. What is this? He whispered. Lyria looked at him, confused. What do you see? He turned the screen toward her. It showed metal lines under her skin. Small implants, invisible to the eye, but deep in her muscles, bones, and spine. She gasped. I didn't know. Jack zoomed in. Some are old, some are new. These weren't for tracking. These were for control. Lyria's eyes filled with fear. You mean they could move my body? Jack nodded. Or shut it down. make you collapse, maybe even make you scream. Her hand shook. I'm not even me anymore. Jack placed his hand gently on hers. Yes, you are. They may have put metal in your body, but they couldn't touch your heart. Jack used his tools to disable the implants. One by one he injected coded nanobots. Each one shut down a circuit. Each one freed a part of her body. As the last one faded, Lyria sat up straighter, stronger, and for the first time in years, she smiled. But far away, back in the fortress, the Baron stared at a blinking red screen. One of the implants had sent a final signal before dying. The Baron laughed. You think you can run from me, girl? He growled. I'll find you, and this time your human won't leave alive. Back in the cave, Jack stood watch while Lyria slept. He cleaned his blaster. He watched the stars. Lyria woke quietly and walked to him. I never saw the sky before, she whispered. Jack looked at her. Never. Only the dungeon ceiling, she said. Now it feels like I can breathe. Jack smiled. It gets better. We'll get you off this planet. But they'll chase us, she said. Let them, Jack replied. Let them chase. This time, they'll be chasing someone ready to fight back. Lyria looked up at the stars again, and this time, she didn't feel small. She felt free. Lyria stood in front of the mirror made from smooth stone and water. Her reflection looked like someone else. The chains were gone. The dirt washed away. Her back still carried the scars, but her eyes looked different now, brighter, alive. She wore the plain clothes Jack had given her, a dark cloak, boots too big, and a belt with a hidden knife. It wasn't armor, it wasn't fancy, but for the first time in her life she looked ready to run and ready to fight. Jack River watched from the edge of the campfire. They had been hiding for 3 days now, moving from cave to cave. He had stolen a small hoverbike, set traps around their camp, and traded stolen goods for fuel. But it wasn't enough. They'll find us soon, he said. Lyria nodded. Then we stop hiding. Jack looked at her. You serious? She met his eyes. I've spent 15 years waiting for someone to rescue me, but now I realize no one's coming. She pulled the knife from her belt. I'm done waiting. Jack exhaled. There's only one way to stop the Baron. Hit him where it hurts. His pride? She asked. Jack grinned. His vault. Lyria raised a brow. He keeps slaves in his vault? No. But he keeps money, weapons, and secrets. You steal from him there, and he'll bleed in more ways than one. That night, they made a plan. Jack drew maps in the sand with a stick. Lyria memorized guard shifts, escape routes, and camera, blind spots. She remembered the layout from her years of suffering, every hallway, every broken tile, every hidden tunnel. She wasn't just a victim anymore. She was the inside map. On the 5th night, they moved. They reached the Baron's fortress. At dusk, dressed in stolen armor from fallen guards. Jack wore a helmet. Lyria covered her face with a black scarf. Her heart pounded, but her hands didn't shake. Not this time. They slipped past the outer gates using stolen codes. Inside, they walked with purpose. Guards nodded at them. No one stopped them. The vault was hidden behind a thick wall in the lower chambers. Only the Baron's keyprint could open it. Jack smiled. Good thing I borrowed his print. He placed a small device on the scanner. It blinked green. The door opened. Inside were shelves of alien gold, plasma rifles, memory drives, and something else, a control chair, with shackles. Lyria froze. She knew that chair. I was brought here once, she whispered. They tested machines on me, injected things, wired my skin to their tech. She stepped closer. She touched the chair with trembling fingers. Then she set it on fire. Alarms exploded. Jack didn't panic. He pulled out a smoke bomb and tossed it down the hallway. Now we run. But Lyria didn't move. She opened the storage box beside the chair and pulled out a data crystal. What's that? Jack shouted. She held it up. Proof of what they did to me and others. Then they ran. Through flame, smoke, and sirens, Jack and Lyria tore through the halls. Lyria took the lead now, guiding him through secret paths only a prisoner would. No guards appeared, blasters drawn. Lyria ducked behind a pillar and threw a stun charge Jack had given her. It exploded with white light. The guards dropped. She didn't hesitate. Not anymore. They reached the roof. Jack pressed a button, and a small stolen flyer blinked to life in the air above. Grab my hand, he yelled. Lyria took his hand and jumped. They landed hard in the open cabin. Jack pushed the throttle. Lasers flew past them. The fortress shrank below, but then a shadow loomed above. A royal war cruiser blocked their path. The Baron wasn't done yet. Jack cursed. They'll shoot us down. Lyria looked at the data crystal, then at the ship's control panel. Let me try something. She plugged the crystal into the comm port. A screen lit up. The Baron's voice echoed, You dare steal from me, girl. You will hang again. Lyria leaned close to the mic. No, she said. I will never be yours again. She pressed the crystal's release button. Files flashed across every military screen in orbit. Evidence of torture, experiments, and illegal imprisonment. Dozens of commanders saw it. A pause. Then, the royal cruiser turned away. Jack blinked. What just happened? Lyria smiled for real this time. Justice. They landed in the mountains, safe for now. Lyria stood on a cliff looking down at the valley below. I broke free the day you came for me, she whispered. But today I broke him. Jack walked up beside her. There are still others like you, still trapped. She nodded. Then we go back for them. You want to start a war? He asked. No. She said, I want to end one. The stars were endless. Lyria sat by the window of Jack's ship staring at the black sky filled with distant light. Each tiny star felt like a story she'd never known. Whole worlds, free people, open skies. She blinked. Is this what freedom looks like? Jack River smiled from the pilot's seat. That's what it feels like. But freedom wasn't safe. Not yet. The data Lyria released had shaken the galaxy. The Baron's crimes were exposed. Many praised the mysterious rebel, girl who destroyed his vault and broadcasted his secrets. But others were angry. The Baron had allies. Rich ones. Dangerous ones. And they wanted revenge. Now Jack's small ship was marked, and they were being hunted. Jack leaned forward, checking the scanner. Red dots blinked behind them. 3 ships. Looks like bounty hunters found us, he said. Lyria turned. Can we outrun them? Jack smirked. We can try. He pulled the controls and the ship jerked sharply to the left. Stars spun outside the windows. The small ship shot through an asteroid belt, dodging rocks the size of houses. Lasers flashed behind them. Lyria held on tightly. Tell me you've done this before. Once or twice, Jack yelled, but never with company. They barely escaped. The bounty hunters got stuck behind a collapsing asteroid, but Jack knew it wouldn't be long before more came. He landed the ship on a frozen moon, its surface hidden in fog. They stepped out into the cold wind. Lyria hugged herself. It's freezing. Jack handed her a thermal cloak. We'll rest here, regroup. I've got a contact nearby, someone who owes me a favor. Can we trust him? She asked. Jack shrugged. No, but I've got backup plans. Inside a cave, they set up a small fire. The warmth felt good, but the silence between them grew heavy. Lyria finally spoke. I still feel the chains sometimes, she whispered, even though they're gone. Jack looked at her. You were hurt for a long time. It's okay to carry the weight. She touched her own wrist. What if I never feel normal? Jack said softly. You're more than normal, Lyria. You're stronger than anyone I've met. She looked at him. Her eyes shimmered. You don't talk like other humans. He chuckled. Most humans haven't seen what I've seen. The next morning, Jack's contact arrived. A reptilian alien named Zek stepped into the cave wearing a long black coat and a metal eye patch. Well, well, Zek hissed. Jack River, still alive. And dragging trouble with you, I see. Jack stood. Good to see you too, Zek. Zek's one eye scanned Lariah. This the girl who ruined Baron Threx? Lariah stared back. I didn't ruin him. I just showed the galaxy what he really is. Zek grinned. I like her. They followed Zek to a hidden base built into the side of a mountain. Inside were smugglers, mechanics, and traders. Some whispered when they saw Lariah. Her face had already spread across bounty boards. Jack leaned close. Keep your hood up, not everyone here is friendly. Zek took them to a secure room. He opened a crate filled with weapons, forged IDs, and a ship upgrade chip. Take what you need, Zek said. But word is spreading fast. Every hunter in 5 systems wants your heads. Lariah picked up a plasma pistol. Let them come. Later that night, while Jack worked on the ship, Lyria sat alone. She stared at her reflection in a piece of polished metal. Who was she now? Not the chained girl? Not just a victim? Maybe something more. She didn't hear Jack walk up behind her. He placed a small item in her hand. It was a necklace. A simple chain with a star-shaped charm. My sister wore one like this, Jack said. She died in a slave camp. I couldn't save her, but I saved you. Lariah looked at him, her eyes wide. I'm not your sister. Jack nodded. No, but you remind me why I fight. She held the necklace tightly. Then I'll wear it for both of us. But peace didn't last. Zek burst into the room, breathless. You've been tracked. 4 bounty ships landing now. Jack grabbed his rifle. We'll hold them off. Lariah stood. No, we run. But this time, we leave a message. She ran to the main terminal. What are you doing? Jack asked. Uploading. A new file, she said. Baron Threx isn't the only one. I found others on that data crystal. More nobles with slaves, more secret prisons. She pressed send. All across the stars, more names were exposed. Jack stared at her. You just started a war. Lyria looked him in the eye. No, Jack, I started a revolution. The old scars on Lariah's back had faded, but she still felt them every morning. She stood alone on a quiet desert world, sand drifting around her boots. She had trained all night, sweat dripping from her brow, hands cut from sword practice. Her arms were stronger now. Her steps had weight. She had spent most of her life chained. Now she was learning to fight. In the distance, Jack River watched her swing a training staff, slicing through the air like it was an enemy's neck. She doesn't sleep, Zek muttered. Beside him, Jack nodded. She's getting ready. For what? Zek asked. Jack's eyes narrowed. To return. Not to escape this time. To finish it. They had spent weeks hiding in the ruins of a forgotten planet. No cities, no people, just silence, space, and time to prepare. Jack had taught Lariah how to shoot, how to fight with blades, how to disarm a bomb. But what she brought to the training was something deeper. Pain, memories, fire in her blood. One day, while cleaning her pistol, Lariah found something Jack had kept hidden, an old hollow chip. When she played it, a small image appeared, a young girl, human, about 10, smiling, holding Jack's hand. Her laugh echoed softly. Lariah watched it again and again. When Jack walked in and saw her holding it, he froze. She was your sister, Lariah whispered. He nodded slowly. Her name was Mira. She died in a mining camp when we were kids. I was too late to save her. You carry her with you, Lariah said. Jack looked at her. So do you. You carry every girl who never got free. Later that night, Zek gave them news. Threx rebuilt. New fortress, new guards. But I have a map, and there's more. He placed a small box on the table. Inside was the whip, Lariah's whip, the same one they used on her for years, the same one she once feared. They auctioned it, Zek said. I bought it. Thought you should be the one to decide what to do with it. Lariah picked it up. The handle was smooth, cold, heavy. She wrapped it in cloth and tied it to her belt. I'm not afraid of it anymore, she said. Now it's mine. The plan was simple. They would land during a trade event. Threx's fortress would be full of distractions. Zek would draw attention at the front gate. Jack would cut the power. And Lariah would go straight to the throne room. She wasn't there to talk. She was there to end him. The ship flew low over the canyon. Wind roared. Jack flew steady. Lariah stood in the back, checking her gear. Last chance to change your mind, Jack said. Lariah smiled faintly. You already know my answer. He looked at her, calm, deadly, beautiful in her resolve. You're not the same girl I pulled out of that dungeon. She looked back. No. She died there. I'm what rose after. They landed as the sun fell. The fortress glowed with lights, banners waving, music playing. Zek walked in the front, shouting about exotic weapons for trade. The guards moved to stop him, leaving the west wall unguarded. Jack and Lariah climbed over silently. They split at the hallway. Jack turned left to hit the power room. Lariah walked straight ahead. The halls were cleaner now. The stone was polished. Expensive rugs covered the cold floors where her blood once dripped. She walked slowly. Every step echoed with memory. She reached the throne room doors. 2 guards stood blocking her path. Without a word, Lariah reached behind her and pulled out the whip. She cracked it once. The sound split the air. The guards froze. And then she moved. 1 guard fired. Missed. Lariah swung, the whip, catching his arm and yanking him forward. Her boot struck his face. The 2nd guard raised a stun baton. Too late. She rolled forward, sliced low with her blade, and knocked him out. The doors creaked open. Baron Threx stood inside. Older, fatter, but still cruel. His yellow eyes widened. You, he hissed. Lariah stepped in, slow and steady. I've returned your gift, she said, holding up the whip. Threx reached for his blaster, but Lariah was faster. She struck the weapon from his hand. He backed into the throne. You can't kill me, he growled. There are laws. She stepped closer. You broke them first. I raised you, fed you, taught you respect. You taught me fear, she said. Now I teach you consequences. She didn't kill him. She tied him with the same whip he once used. Then she activated her wristcom. Across the fortress, screens lit up, broadcasting the scene to a dozen systems. Baron Threx, her voice rang out, held me in chains for 15 years. He thought no one would ever stop him, but someone did. She stepped aside. Jack walked in. Together, they turned and walked away. The past burned behind them, but the future, it was free. The footage of Baron Threx tied in his own throne room by the girl he once tortured spread across the galaxy like fire in dry grass. News channels played the clip on loop. People who had never cared before now watched in silence, and in corners of space where chains still rattled and screams still echoed, hope began to grow. Lariah sat in silence on the edge of the cliff, staring down at the valley below. Jack stood behind her, arms crossed, watching the wind move through her long, dark hair. You did it, he said softly. No, she replied. I started something. Jack smiled. That's more dangerous. The rebellion didn't begin with soldiers or ships. It began with whispers, with workers refusing orders, with slaves sneaking messages to one another, with stolen chains nailed to doors in protest. One by one, people stood up, because if one girl, chained, whipped, left to die, could rise up and bring down a baron, then maybe anyone could. But power doesn't fall quietly. The noble houses were furious. Many supported Threx. They saw Lariah as a virus, a symbol that had to be destroyed before it spread too far. They placed a bounty on her head so high it shook the underworld. Some called her a terrorist. Some called her a liar. But others, began calling her the breaker of chains. One night, Jack returned from a secret mission with news. "The council wants to meet you," he said. Quietly, "A few members. They saw your message. They want to talk." Lyria raised a brow. "Talk? Or trap?" "They're scared of you," Jack said. "That means they might listen." Lyria stood up. "Then let's go remind them what fear tastes like." The meeting was held on a neutral station above a small moon. 3 council members waited: an old insectoid, a silent reptile, and a human woman in a dark coat. When Lyria entered the room, no one spoke for a moment. They had seen the broadcast, but seeing her in person was something else. She didn't wear a crown or carry a flag, just a blaster at her side and the whip on her belt, silent and folded like a ghost of her past. The human woman finally spoke. "You caused an uproar." Lyria nodded. "Good." The reptile hissed, "What do you want?" Lyria's voice was calm. "I want freedom to mean something, not just a word on paper. I want the noble houses watched, investigated. I want the prison planets opened. I want the children taken in chains set free." "And if we say no?" the insectoid asked. Jack stepped forward. "Then the galaxy burns." The room fell into silence. Then the human woman said quietly, "We'll vote. But I think the people have already chosen their leader." As they left, Jack turned to Lyria. "You could lead this rebellion, you know." Lyria shook her head. "I don't want to rule. I just want to keep others from growing up like I did." "Then they'll follow you anyway," he said. Back on their ship, Lyria sat alone in the control room, holding the whip in her hands. She looked at the leather handle. The very thing used to break her now rested in her lap like a sleeping weapon. She thought of all the nights she cried, all the pain, all the lost years. And then she stood. She walked outside onto the deck of the ship. Stars shined around her. She raised the whip high and threw it into the fire. Jack stepped beside her. "No more chains," she whispered. "Never again," he replied. In the weeks that followed, Lyria became a symbol, not a queen, not a general, but a living spark. Where she walked, people stood straighter. Where she spoke, voices rose. Old enemies laid down their arms. Children whispered her name like magic. Jack watched it all from her side, never stepping ahead, never falling behind. They were not lovers. Not yet. But something deeper grew between them. A quiet trust, born in blood and battle. Then one morning, a small alien girl knocked on their ship's door. She had ragged clothes and frightened eyes. Lyria knelt beside her. "What's wrong?" she asked. The girl whispered, "My mother's still chained, in the mines of Yorvax." Lyria stood slowly. "Not for long." She turned to Jack. "Fuel, the ship." He grinned. "Already did?" As the engines roared and stars filled the sky, Lyria touched the necklace Jack had given her, the one that belonged to his sister. Then she looked out into the stars. So many still waiting. "She said," Jack nodded. "So we keep going." And they did. Planet to planet. Mine to mine. Fortress to fortress. Where there were chains, they broke them. Where there was pain, they brought healing. And where there was silence, they taught people to scream and be heard. Because the girl who once hung in darkness now carried justice in her hands.